What's up, guys? Today I'm here with Noah, and we are going to discuss what is better to do. If you own a property in Cabo, nice little view today. If you own a property in Cabo and you want to rent it out, for example, if it's coronavirus and you haven't come down, instead of just having a vacant property, should you rent it out long term, on a yearly basis, 6 months, yearly basis, or should you go like the Airbnb route and go short term? So we're going to kind of give a debate on that today and let you know the pros and cons of each way.
Yep, and just for my background, I have a couple of properties that I help manage here in town. I'm a long-term renter personally, so I find that flexibility handy, but I can also see the benefits from short-term.
So yeah, the properties that we own here in Cabo, we rent out long-term, and there's a couple of reasons for that. First of all, it's a very strong market. You wouldn't necessarily think that Cabo is a strong demand for long-term, but there is, and that's the route that we go. I like it because there's less headaches. There's more stability. If you look at 2020 with coronavirus, if you're doing short-term rentals, I'm sure you took a hit, whereas all of our long-term rentals were consistently coming through paying monthly rents, right? Another thing that I really like about long-term rentals is the fact that, you have a high season and you have a low season. So, kind of pick your poison on that. In high season, when you're doing short-term rentals, you can boost up the rents, right? And that would typically be like October through maybe April. And then in a lower season, when it's summertime and tourists have other chances to go elsewhere, generally you're not going to be charging as much rent. And you can see that with the hotel prices. You're always going to have less dollars per night that they're charging in the slower season in the summertime. So when you do long-term rentals, you actually, counterbalance that, and you're getting the same payment every month. So that's something I like, the stability in that regard.
Yeah, no, there's a lot of stability with long-term rental for sure. But as cliche as it sounds, the quote, more money, more problems. I think that you can get more money off of short-term rental through Airbnb and stuff, and there are some advantages. But then you don't have the stability, you don't have, the steady income every single month. So we try to average probably about 2 weeks a month for the entire year rental-wise. And so one condo that we have, we could probably rent for $800 to $1,000, and we typically rent that out $150 a night. But then we have 15% goes to the property manager. You've got cleaning fees, the maids, a lot of other aspects. And then every time we go in there, there's a towel missing, something happened that isn't as beneficial as a long-term renter that really takes care of the property.
Yeah, I think you gave an example. A property that was probably a 2-bedroom that would net $1,600 a month was closer to maybe $2,600 coming in, but then you take $400 off for property management fee, cleanings, and all this. So generally, you're going to make a little bit more on the short-term side. You're just going to have a lot more issues, and it's going to be a lot more active management. But if you hire somebody like Noah, you can take care of that. We just prefer the long-term rental market, and part of the reason, there's a lot of, Cabo's known as this luxury getaway, right? And it is. So you have this really high, really high-end market. We don't mess with that market. Our rental properties are affordable that workers can rent out, but we're not talking about Cabo. We really like the middle market. You have a lower end, and some of these properties on the lower end you would not want to rent. So we're right there in the middle between the luxury and the low end, and for me, that market will continue to grow, and that's why we like the long-term rental market. I just don't think there's that many good options. And back to property management, it really depends on who you have. If we've had people, my wife does property management for long-term rentals, and she's gotten clients where they couldn't get the place rented out for 4 months straight, and then she gets the property, and through her network, it's rented within a week. So it really depends on who you're dealing with, and that's part of knowing the correct people down here in Cabo.
Yeah, no, for sure. And there is a very big middle class factor down here. It's a very good market to be in. The one huge benefit, which I've heard Fletcher actually point out before, of having the Airbnb or short-term rental is I have a couple clients that I do their property management for that want to come down, 1 week out of the month or something like that. So it's perfect for them because I can get it Airbnb'd, 2 weeks to 3 weeks, a month, and that covers well over, their mortgage payment or whatever they have going on there. I'm making money as well, and then they have, a nice house that's paid for when they get here, so they're not spending, money on a hotel or anything like that.
Yeah, for me, that's the biggest benefit if you go the short-term route is, let's say you live in Houston and, somebody's not renting the property a weekend that you're looking at. You can just, get the manager to not have any bookings that weekend and you can come down and visit that. That's obviously not an option if you're going long-term because somebody's going to be in there the whole time. Another thing I do like about the long-term is we haven't had any issues with tenants here. For me, it's a little bit easier to screen the tenants. When you start getting into the short-term rental side, Airbnb, you might have somebody who's doing it, but let's say if it's like one of these larger properties, you have 8 people coming and it's a bachelor party and it's like, there's no telling. Yeah. It's like you get in there and there's furniture smashed from a bachelor party or God knows what else. But generally, you're going to have, in my opinion, better tenants when you do the the long-term route. And when you do the short-term, obviously, once again, we're going back to you're going to have more money, but it's going to be more active management. And then I'm not going to say it's harder to screen the tenants, but I think you're going to get a couple more bad apples in that bunch.
Yeah, no, for sure. And like if someone's renting long-term, it's their actual home versus something we've ran into a lot on Airbnb that we found is there's 2 types of tenants for short-term. There's tenants that treat it better than their own home, and it's just like you come in and it's just spectacularly still clean. Everything's taken care of, really well done. They had a lot of respect, it wasn't their home. And then there's the flip side of that where there's towels missing, they're standing on furniture with, dirty shoes, they're standing in the jacuzzi, all kinds of different issues. So it can definitely go both ways. But if you do short term, definitely have a budget in there for keeping up with the place.
Yeah, no, I mean, if you're going short term, you just got to hire the right people.
Yeah,
it's that simple. I don't think you want to deal with a headache, especially if you're in the United States. You got to have somebody down here that's going to do that. So really, to sum it up, there's benefits to both. If short term is done correctly, you're generally going to make more money. You're going to have a lot more wear and tear on the property. Long term, it's going to be more stability, generally better tenants. Steady paycheck coming in, not paycheck, but steady income coming in from this property. And furthermore, you're just going to have a demand for it. So, and you're always going to have the demand on the short-term side too, but then you start entering with the hotels and whatnot, and you're just starting to see, especially during a pandemic and stuff, people that can work remotely are, moving down to places like Cabo because they can work anywhere they want to. So I just see I just see the demand for the long-term rental market increasing as people become more and more aware of how great a place Cabo is to live. So one last thing is, what are the costs associated with each option? So it depends. Obviously if you're renting out your own place, that's another thing, but we're talking about the absent owner here. If you're going to rent out your place long-term, generally the person that rents out the property for you is going to take a month rent. So that's going to come out to 8% of the annual income that you're bringing in, right? Whereas short-term, you mentioned 15%?
Yep, so that's typically what I charge is 15%. And then you also, with Airbnb, you have, I think, a little over 20% in taxes as well with whatever your fee is. So they automatically pull that out.
And then another thing too is 15% is low. If I'm being honest, most people that I've seen, especially when the higher end you go, some of this gets ridiculous, but a lot of people in Cabo try to charge 25% on short-term rentals, which, I mean, that's a lot, compared to the 8% that you'll get charged for the short-term, for the long-term. So I think, somebody like Noah that's doing 15%, that's somebody good to talk to. I would not be paying somebody more than 20% on a short-term rental. Like, Yeah,
Well,
that's highway robbery if you're going 25%. But a lot of people here do it, and they're getting away with it. So,
Well, to be honest, I used to charge 20%, but a few months back, Airbnb raised their taxes about 10%. So I met my clients halfway by dropping down to 15.
there you go. So really, 15 to 20% is probably what you're going to see on the short-term side, and about 8% on the long-term side. So those are just some of the costs associated with it.
Yep. And then I also highly suggest if you do the short term, have a maid go in every 2 to 3 days. Like we have a 3-bedroom, 3-bath place. It's really nice. And the maid comes and it's $20 each time. So it's really not that much of an extra cost for them to come by, but it's kind of like your eyes and ears for them going in and making sure the tenants are still being respectful and taking care of the place.
And yeah, guys, if you're looking for anybody to rent out your property, if you have a property here and you're looking for property management, whether that's short term or long term, reach out to me. If you're looking for short term, I don't do that game, so I'll give you over to Noah, but we have all the bases covered there. So if you guys have any questions, let us know and drop a note in the comments.